Hey folks, today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. I love Off the Record, and so many of you guys do too. Not a week goes by that I get an email or an Instagram DM from someone who used Off the Record and, just like the name implies, got those points off their record. What Off the Record does is, if you get a ticket for anything, any kind of moving violation, they set you up with a qualified attorney in your area to fight that ticket on your behalf, working to get those points off your record. The whole process is seamless. All you do is go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TST10. You then snap a photo of your ticket or scan it, upload it to Off the Record, and they handle the rest. The fee is very modest, and with our discount code, you get 10% off all your legal services with Off the Record going forward for the next several years. I say several years and not a specific time because they've been so good to us and we've been so good to them that I imagine they will extend it. It's offtherecord.com/TST or the Off the Record app, code TST10. You never plead guilty to tickets. It is a ecosystem that is financial in nature. It's designed to extract maximum value from your wallet. It's not about keeping people safe. It's about making money, and you shouldn't go down without a fight. That's why we love Off the Record. So go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TST10 at checkout, or when you log in, make an account, and that discount will be saved the next time you need it. So if you get pulled over, they're right there for you, no problemo. We love them as a sponsor. Of course, also, another sponsor I love is Dylan Optics sunglasses. You know those sunglasses you see me wearing in every picture? The ones with the colorful matte finish lenses? Those are Dylan Optics, and they don't just look different, they look different from the inside too. It's like HD life. The NIR polarized technology reduces glare, reduces fatigue of your eyes, protects your eyes, and it doesn't reflect what's in front of you. That's that matte finish. Each pair is customized. So you go to your website, and then you choose your frames. There's like 15, 20 frame styles. Then you choose your lens color. So the odds are you're never going to see someone out on the street with the same pair of Dylans that you have. It's fantastic. If you go to thesmokingtire.com, our website, under the Partners tab, you will see the Dylan Optics banner. You just click on that, and that is your link. We will send you a free Smoking Tire t-shirt if you buy a pair of Dylan Optics. It's a great, great company based here in the USA out of Arizona, and they are literally our longest running sponsor. Love their glasses, love them, and they keep my eyes from getting fatigued when I'm out filming in the desert, I'm out cycling or just walking or spending all day in the hot sun of a car show. They are amazing, and it's a really quality product. So go to thesmokingtire.com, click on the Partners tab, get yourself a pair of Dylan Optics sunglasses, and we'll send you a free t-shirt for supporting the people that support us. All right, folks, today it is our live program from Luft. Zach and I took a road trip up to Luft 9, the all-Porsche show up in San Francisco, curated by racing driver Patrick Long and human being extraordinaire racing driver and art director Jeff Zwart. It was at Mare Island, and we recorded this podcast in a large open volume warehouse in front of a couple of hundred people. It was a great show. It was a lot of fun. We have tons of guests from around the Porsche industry. 6 guests, I believe, on this show, from Patrick Long to Jeff Zwart to Betim Berisha, Joey Seeley. We have Mike Musto in studio. JF stops by, and maybe even someone else I'm forgetting. Oh, of course. How do I forget? Rod Emory was in the house as well, all talking about what was going on up there and what makes Luft, Porsche, and the things that they do so special. A very fun show live from Luft. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our program live from Luft today. This is a treat. We're really public speaking. Zach and I are here, and we're going to dive right into it. We got some friends coming by. We're going to talk to Rod Emory. at some point. We're going to talk to Jeff Zwart, who's riding his bicicletta around. And we're starting with Pat Long, legendary factory Porsche racing driver, one of the organizers of this incredible event. And give this man a round of applause for all the work he's put into this.
Thank you.
The world's fastest ginger, as I always refer to him. And we watched him, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
2 weeks ago, this dude was racing Keke Rosberg's 1983 Formula One car at Long Beach, which is a track that has no runoff, in a car that has no crash structure, and he won. He took home a trophy. I saw this dude ride by in a golf car with a giant trophy. So another round of applause for Pat.
Thank you.
Ninth Luft.
Yes.
The first one was in Venice in a tiny little parking lot that held 12 cars. How many cars do we have today?
Today we're at about 450, and tomorrow we'll be at about 625.
Woo! And by acreage, I think this is the largest Luft ever, right?
Yeah, this supersedes the backlot at Universal, and many people have said architecturally a notch up as well. So we're very stoked so far with the results of this, but it feels like it's just scratching the surface of what's going to go on for the next 30 hours.
It's crazy. Like when I posted on Instagram where we were doing our show and I described it as in front of the battleship, people were like, oh, well, that sounds like a next level operation.
Next to crane number 14.
Yeah. Did you see the loading limit on that crane? It was like
140,000 pounds?
I think it was 140,000 pounds the hook of that crane lifts.
Yeah, this place is mid-1800s naval base, 3.5 miles, and just an unbelievable amount of history. But if you do a little bit of research on Mare Island, you see that a lot of shit went down from this place as far as military ops, submarines, building, manufacturing, testing, development. I've flown by this place quite a few times and I've driven by it, but never did I imagine that we would have this structure in this building, let alone about 4 more of these.
How did that discussion come about? I mean, I know Zwart can probably come and give his artistic vision of it, but, how do you end up going, we're going to have a car show here?
Well, you should ask him his version. I'm going to give you my version, the unfiltered version. So for the short answer is drinking. So one of our head guys, James Longstaff, lives and works in this area and comes here to Mare Island Brewing Company to drink and to look at the views on the weekends. And he mentioned to me that he thought there were some areas I might want to see. So I flew here about 5 months ago. I walked into this building. I walked into a few other buildings and just saw how much development has gone on in the last few years, and I called Zwart and I said, Mare Island, unbelievable. And he said, I've been there, I've filmed there, I've shot there over the years. It's okay. I'm like, no, we are going to Mare Island. This is a done deal. I'm not taking no for an answer. And then he got on a plane the next week and he flew here and he's like, okay, you're right.
So had he not been here in a while, or did you just see something that amazingly he didn't see?
Well, the Mare Island Company has been renovating and preserving the history and heritage of these buildings. So it was probably a fact where he was filming here on a TV commercial or a job, but this building might have been completely shut down for safety reasons. So they've been renovating these buildings and bringing them back. A lot of them have tenants, some don't. I think this one will stay open as a versatile sort of event space. But yeah, this is a massive campus. Rebecca and the staff have been unbelievable to work with. So much of Luft, the pain behind Luft is moving venues and basically recreating yourself every single year. And so when you get a partner like these guys, this is no PR spin. They've been unbelievable and super professional.
What I love about this place and what you guys tend to do is that, there's so many colors of cars here, so many matte finishes, silver finishes, etc. But you find elements in these buildings that are just work as like natural picture frames and help accentuate the color of the car, or it's a contrast of it. And it just, that's why every photo anyone here takes is amazing.
If you're going to do a car show, you need a Zwart. If you're going to do it right. I mean, he'll tell us when he comes down here, rides down here on his bike, the how each car is set up. But give me, we did a lap. It took 2 hours to do a lap of the show and come back. The number of cars, the variety is amazing. Give me your top few selections of things that people must see here. And it's hard to pick because there's some awesome stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. I mean, Luft has always been an idea. You were at the first show, I believe you were as well, Zach, about telling the complete story of air-cooled and the Porsche Passion. And tomorrow we'll tell the complete story of the model line from modern all the way back to the inception. It's all about the home builders. It's about the small teams across the country that build hot rods and restoration. And then it's about the big cars, the 962s, the 910s. But everything in between is such a story. There's no way to take in every single car. I think the 910 at the very north side of the campus.
The Joe Siffert car, the one by itself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
If you didn't see it, all the way at north, there is a whole building like this with one car in it. Yeah. And it's pretty aggressive placement to do a whole huge 10,000 square foot building with one car in it, but it is quite Instagrammable. There's literally a line to take that one photo, and it's a Joe Siffert race car. It's got a lot of history. It's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, I love that car. I've actually raced against it last year at Monterey, and its owner, Dave Hagen, is not only an enthusiast, but he gets these cars and gets out there and races them, and I love that type of stuff, and we want to celebrate that heritage and not just the ones that are mothballed away in big museums and collections.
Speaking of building, you touched on it quickly. I'm gonna let you get back to your organizations, but we've got Rod Emory right here, who has a amazing selection of his builds right across the hall. Come on down. Let's give Rod Emory a hand.
Thanks for having me.
Pat.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for coming down, Pat. Pat has done an incredible job with his team here, so we really appreciate him sharing a few minutes with us. Rod, what's up, my brother?
Hey, buddy. Doing great.
Rod is if you have no idea who this guy is, you are missing out. He's got, what do you have, 6 cars over there?
We've got, 5 cars over here, and then we just finished the preservation on the 904, which is right here.
Just amazing. And if you've ever heard the term Porsche outlaw, he basically invented that. You did. You're a modest guy, but you did. And what have you got? Just give us a rundown of the cars that you brought here today.
Well, first of all, this event, amazing, right?
Incredible.
I mean, I think I can speak for a lot of us in here. It's the event of the year, without a doubt, and something that we look forward to. I mean, going back to, the first one in Venice and just seeing this, idea explode. It's just, how do they outdo themselves every single time? So applause to Pat and the team. For us, it's this is the event that we all look forward to coming to, and I try to bring something kind of fresh and new to each one of the events that Luft puts on. We've got, directly behind you guys, we brought some pretty special cars. There's, Zwart reached out to me. He loves having a bare metal body here. And at the last Luft, we had one in the Porsche Classic booth. This time we brought one that's an A body that's just all in bare metal. So you get to kind of see these things in raw that way and really appreciate the work. And then right behind it is a car that we just finished where we lean the nose back, lean the windshield back, kind of lengthen the tail, and we built that for a real enthusiast of this brand, Scott Blattner, that has some amazing cars. So that's up on the top. So make sure you walk up the stairs and kind of go up and around. And then the 2 cars that are down below are cars that we just finished for Victor Gomez, who is a really great ambassador of our brand here out of Miami. And special stuff.
My favorite thing I think about your builds is when you just look at one, especially if we don't know it's one of your builds, the thought is, is that an original historical car that was some sort of weird race car, or is it modified? And if it's been modified, what exactly has been done? I know it looks different, but I can't put my finger on why or how. So what is that thought process like, where you can continue to make these subtle changes without ever really building 2 of exactly the same thing and still finding new things to change in subtle ways about the shape of these 356s?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I think, the secret sauce for us is, I grew up, my grandfather was the manager of a body shop at the Porsche dealership in Newport Beach, and my dad was parts manager, and then my dad started Porsche Parts Obsolete, which was all of the Porsche parts that were kind of spilling over in the dealerships all across America. and he bought all of what was called Porsche's distributor obsolescence. So it's all the extra parts that they didn't have room for. So I grew up as a kid in a building about half the size of this that was just Porsche parts. So I really learned the parts, the nuts and bolts of these cars, and the interchangeability. You know, Porsche is an engineering company to start, and it's an evolution of engineering. If you look at the early 356s and the design language that goes all the way to the modern cars, it's an evolution of design. And they continued to just, you know, incrementally develop the cars, but they did that also on all the parts that are, you know, built into the cars. So I can take a 356 and put an early 911 transmission in it. I can take nuts and bolts and parts from later cars and drag them back. And
that leads up to your engine. The Emory 4-cylinder engine that goes in some of your highest end Outlaw builds is based on a 964 engine, right? But re-engineered in 4 cylinders, right? So what is that engine and how does it work?
So conceptually, it was done in the 60s from Porsche. There was an engineer, Paul Hensler. When they were designing the 6-cylinder 911 engine, they also looked at the feasibility of doing a 4-cylinder version of that engine. Because as you know, the 356 engine was a pushrod, wet sump, 1600cc engine. But as they were looking into the future saying, let's build a 912, let's build a 914, but we want a 4-cylinder engine, they looked at how we can take that technology or architecture of the 911 engine and make it a 4-cylinder. Porsche decided not to produce that engine. So decades later, that engine became a reality. So it's a 4-cylinder version of a 964. Basically, if you were to take the center 2 cylinders out of a 6-cylinder engine and put the case back together, it would be the engine that we use. It's all 964 piston cylinders, rods, heads, valve train, you know, gaskets, fan, but it's in a 4-cylinder configuration, and it makes it serviceable for, you know, decades because all those parts are available from Porsche.
And how much power do you get out of an engine like that?
So our engine is basically 2/3 of what the 911 displacement was. So a 3.6 liter that it was based off of, 2/3 of that makes it a 2.4 liter. So the 2.4 makes 205 horsepower. It uses factory 964 piston cylinders, heads. So it's low compression, just real drivable. My 2.6 liter, it's actually 2.66 liter, is based on the hot rod 4 liter. The 4 liter engine that's in cars like Singer and Gunther Works and all of these other hot rod 911s that are being built. All the components inside my 2.6 are the same parts. So and that engine makes just over 100 horsepower per liter. So it's 262 horsepower.
In a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder.
And your car weighs how much?
1,950 pounds.
Right, that's enough.
That's good.
So 260 horsepower and 1,950
Do any
pounds.
of the cars over there have that motor in it?
All of them do.
All of them do?
Yeah, well, the silver cabriolet at the end does not.
Okay.
But the other 3 do.
All right. Well, if you see Rod, ask him to pop the hood and check it out because it doesn't just make a ton of power. It does look quite nice also.
Thank you.
Do you have a theory behind the design? Because along with iterating these parts and making them evolve perfectly, you seem to stay true to the 356 design. But like Matt said, you walk up and you know it's different, but you don't really know how, and you don't depart from that original beauty. How do you have like the perfect amount of restraint with that?
So for me, I mean, it's all about the brand for me. I grew up, you know, loving and adoring the Porsche brand, and Porsche stopped building the 356 in 1965. I grew up, you know, loving the cars so much and actually vintage racing one. My company's Emory Motorsports because it was really born on the racetrack. I started racing a 356 when I was 16 and developing the cars from there. So for me, it's really about honoring Porsche and evolving the design that they already had in place and trying to do my best to say if Porsche would have continued to build the 356, what would those cars have possibly become? And then also, or if somebody came in, like today we have Porsche exclusive. You can take and order a brand new Porsche and you can sit down with, you know, the design team at exclusive and you can, you know, pick out the materials you want and you can pay a little extra to have special colors and, you know, special
Shout out
knobs
to Tweed, my exclusive
all
specialist.
the cool stuff on these cars, right? Well, back in the day, there was a special build department that would do that same type of thing. So I just try to put myself back in 1960 and say, if I was the guy that they were coming to build a 356 that was a little bit specialized, but still keep it as pure and true to Porsche as possible, that's my life's work. I've built 240 cars, along with my team, obviously. But I've been doing this since I started restoring my first car when I was 14, finished it when I was 16, and haven't stopped since.
And now your kids are doing it too, which is amazing.
Yeah, my daughter, after college, thought she was going to be a physical therapist, but went the business route, and now she runs the back end of the business. And my son, you might catch him on The Rookie or The Goldbergs. He's a actor, but he spends 40 to 45 hours a week in the workshop, and he's the one that's responsible for the preservation of the 904 over there. And then around here, you'll see my son-in-law, who married my daughter. He's my lead metal shaper in the shop and does a lot of the metal shaping on these cars.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for joining us, and I want to encourage everybody to take 15 minutes to wander and look at Rod's stuff, because it's just, when you're talking about 356s, it's the best in the world. I mean, it's literally better than what Porsche does by some margin. And if you ever get to go for a ride in a car with one of his engines in it, it's bananas fast, and it's a very raw experience. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Give Rod a round of applause, folks. He's the man. Thanks, buddy. And this year at Luft is going to be the first time we've ever had a water-cooled day. Tomorrow is air-water. I'll be showing my car. And so I thought we should talk about some water-cooled cars a little bit with one of my favorite water-cooled specialists, Betim Berisha, the owner of BBI Autosport, and one of my favorite Porsche tuners is here. Let's give this dude a round of applause. Folks, got to take a quick ad break for Factor. I love Factor because they solve a problem I have in my life. Being too busy, not just to cook, but to eat. What happens in my life when I get very busy, as I do when I'm home and I'm not traveling? I got to pile everything up together, and I forget to cook healthy. I forget to order healthy. I don't have the time. I don't want to deal with it. And I wait too long to eat. I get super hungry. And then it's like, I got to order something. Now it's 45 minutes and now I'm really starving and I'm just going to wolf food. It's awful. And if you're too busy to cook, if you're too busy to go to the grocery store and you don't want to deal with all the prep, Factor is here. They've got fresh, never frozen meals. They're ready in just 2 minutes. All you have to do is heat and enjoy, then go back outside and soak up that warm weather, head back to work, or enjoy that time with your family. They've got calorie conscious options ahead of summer. Calorie smart meals with around or less than 550 calories per serving. If you need an extra boost of energy or support your wellness goals this spring, they got the Protein Plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. They've got the smoothies ready to go. A little quick hit of protein and carbs before your workout with some fiber put in. Those strawberry banana smoothies or the mango smoothies, they are what's up. You want to cut your budget? Get Factor instead. Not only is Factor cheaper than takeout, but the meals are ready faster than restaurant delivery in just 2 minutes. It is great. This May, get Factor and enjoy clean eating without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered directly to your door. It's ready in just 2 minutes, no prep, no mess. So head over to factormeals.com/tire40 and use code TIRE40 to get 40% off your first box of Factor. That's code TIRE40 at factormeals.com/tire40 to get 40% off your first box. And now back to the show. Betim has Betim has a lot of experience building race cars for Porsche Motorsport, building really, really fast street cars. At one point, had the fastest standing mile Porsche around, a 996 called Kong. He does service, and he built most recently and most famously the late Ken Block's Huna Pegasus, which is that tube frame batshit thing that will actually be run in an exhibition run next June by Ken's daughter, which should be amazing. And thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. touch on that Hunapigasus car that we built. It's actually going to be who's here tomorrow also.
Everyone, you guys coming to Air Water tomorrow? You
Water?
should come.
Yeah,
my
you guys.
pink car will be on display too.
There's also going to be a fight afterwards between the air-cooled crowd and the water-cooled crowd.
Yeah, there's going to be a big
It's going to
brawl.
be a dance fight
Jetson
though.
Shark,
So
Everybody
don't
be
worry.
betting?
Right.
Yeah,
It's going to be a
perfect.
dance fight.
Right.
Don't worry.
Yeah, we're going to dance it out. Yeah. No, so this show is insane. Everybody's feet are probably sore now, but it's unbelievable. I've come here more or less as a spectator and really just enjoying meeting a lot of people that I've met in the past or re-meeting and saying hello, and the community here is insane. It's amazing. And it's almost like as you're walking down, you see, oh, that's just a 993 Turbo S kind of neatly tucked away somewhere, or a rare 910 or something like that. It's unreal. And Pat and his team and everybody at Luft, it's cool to see these little Easter eggs that they drop everywhere,
Yeah. It's all framed up, and there's certain very special cars that are placed in seemingly nonchalant ways.
Yeah,
and,
it's just they curated it so well, and,
Yeah.
and it's kind of funny. Like, oh, that's just this and that, and a lot of the negative space around it, they photographs well, but it's really cool to see. But by far, the most fun I'm having right now is because meeting everybody, saying hello, and just kind of talking to everybody and how far they've come to this show, and it's kind of the
What's
end
the
all be all.
farthest who have you talked to?
Somebody from Denmark this morning. Who here?
Anyone come over 500 miles?
Who can beat Denmark? Do we beat Denmark?
500,
Who beat
500. Anyone come over 1,000 miles to be here?
There we go,
Yeah?
1,000.
Over 2,000 miles? Anyone? We're going to find.
We got 2,000.
Where are you guys from? El Salvador? Holy shit.
Oh, that's even okay. I think
Somebody
that.
check their visas. No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
I know
El
Greg
Salvador.
flew
Where
in
are you
from France the other day.
Melbourne, Australia. I think
there
we
you
have
go.
a winner.
Yeah.
I think we have a winner.
Good on
Welcome. Good for you.
But I think that
Good
to
for
me
you.
is the most impactful thing here is seeing the community around the Porsche brand. And I think it's wild that, I grew up with it, and I heard Rod talking. He restored his car when he was 14, his first car, finished when he was 16, and this has just been his life. A lot of people have done kind of the same thing, but as an enthusiast, and from a distance, watching, enjoying, celebrating the Porsche brand, and I think it's pretty special to be a part of all of that.
It seems it's a brand that seems to encourage modification. The crowd encourages modification, whereas some other, let's say, exotics, it's more about keeping it as stock as possible.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think for me, I built my entire life, my professional life, around modifying cars, and Porsche has given us such an amazing canvas to kind of tweak. And sometimes I get that weird question, oh, what do you know more than Porsche? Oh, I don't know more than Porsche, but what I do know is that when I have a client or a person or we have a race to go to, we take the suit that is a beautiful suit, and then we just tailor it for that event or that client. It's not that we know anything different or more. It's
that attitude it's understandable why somebody would think that way, but I think that they don't understand that even for Porsche, a car that's just sold to the public there have to be some compromises. They made it handle not as good as it ultimately could so that it would ride good on bad roads. It has to pass emissions. It has to pass noise regulations in every country the car is sold in. And so even Porsche, who builds a great car, has to compromise somewhere, whereas individual A, who wants to focus the car in one direction, might be willing to give up on the other side of it.
Absolutely. It's kind of letting go of that compromise of, well, I maybe ride quality if I'm going to daily my car. Maybe that's something that's important to me, but I want a little bit more noise. And some people would say that's exhausting or a little bit,
Pussies.
Yeah. Well, but anyways, hot rodding 911s is what I've grown up doing, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I think it's because of people that I've been running into and all of you that have made the possibility of me having a career in it. And I think I'm very fortunate, very lucky, and very grateful to everybody that supports us.
Well, and this dude builds really, really great, high-quality stuff, not just if you're doing the install at his shop, but his parts, his exhausts, his cages, and suspension kits are really, really good stuff. And so I send a lot of people down there. I send my cars down there. I go down there for something as simple as an oil change in my own car. It's worth the 45 minutes in traffic.
Gives us an excuse to have lunch, too.
Right. Also, the sandwiches around the corner for his shop are epic. But it's always nice to see you at stuff like this.
Yeah, thanks.
And I do look forward to seeing that car run, even without Ken. But real quick, if you guys have seen that Huna Pegasus car, it looks kind of like a Porsche.
Kind of.
It is technically a 1972 912. 66 912, but it is what is on that car that is from 1966?
The VIN?
The VIN plate, right. Which, by the way, makes it technically street legal.
Yeah, it's and the car actually it's registered, it's insured, and I have license plates for it. And we might be doing something fun with it on Monday somewhere near a big bridge.
Ah, good times.
But yeah.
Give me the quick specs on that car, power and weight.
All right. It's 2,600 pounds dry. It's 1,400 horsepower, mid-engine, twin-turbo engine. It spins to 9,200 RPMs, and it's all-wheel drive. So, big technical challenge, making a mid-engine, flat-six car, all-wheel drive. And we ended up having to take the drive shaft and run it over the top of the engine, and it's your armrest in the car. It's spooky.
It's like you and Rob Dama who've decided that that's a good idea.
Yeah. But it's fun. I'm looking forward to seeing it tomorrow. Very, very excited to see what Luft does here, where they're going to place it, and how we're going to do all that. Another quick thing.
Most importantly, it's pink.
It's pink.
It looks
very
amazing.
important.
Yeah.
Porsche must be pink.
But if you guys want, run by on the other side of the earth where the other part of the show is. Run by.
It's in Australia. She knows.
Yeah, exactly. We have an exciting project that we're gonna very vaguely launching with Mobile One right now. So if you go by there's some amazing artists painting some hoods. Go grab a couple Pegasus stickers and just have a look. But that's for another time.
Well, thanks for joining us, Betim. We appreciate it. There's no switch. Just leave it.
Thank you, everybody. Nice seeing everyone.
Betim Berisha,
Thank you.
BDI Autosport. If you're ever in the Huntington Beach area, his shop is extremely talented for your Porsche needs. And here's the man, Mr. Jeff Zwart, we want to welcome, who is responsible for the placement of all these vehicles, the aesthetic of Luft. The man, if you've ever seen an iconic Porsche ad from the 1980s or 1990s that featured an incredible image with some inspiring words, this is the guy that did that. And, you see people doing things with cars and maybe pets and maybe scenery that seem like they're set up for Instagram. And that's actually just Jeff's regular life.
Yeah.
And so you cannot do a show like this without a man like this. So thank you for killing it again, Jeff.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Thanks.
And give me your aesthetic once-over of how this show works this year.
Oh, yeah. Well, and first of all, thanks for everybody being here. This is awesome. It's a great turnout. And I always say that the greatest compliment I have after an event like this is that somebody took the photograph I would have taken. Because really, I come into these venues and situations, I just put cars together with the photograph I want to take. And we're living in such an awesome era of everybody's got a camera, everybody's got some way to record it. So for me to be able to walk in and be given all these great backdrops and all these amazing cars and say, okay, what picture would I take with this? That's what I'm doing here. And this, it's always easier. I used to shoot majority of road and track covers, and I'd say, number one, give me a red car, because it just made it easier.
This works on YouTube as well, by the way.
So when you look at that, that's the situation here is that, just give me a great venue, and this venue is awesome. The footprint is expansive. We can accommodate everybody. Not everybody's in the way of everything, but it really was inspiring to me, because when I walked in here, I just imagined all the great photographs I could take. So this is awesome, and I'm really glad to share it with you guys.
Well, there's so many good colors in every one of these buildings. And the fact that the paint is flaking and underneath that is a paint that could highlight a different car is so helpful.
Yeah, no, it's fun because I'm out there. It's like, working with Skittles out in the parking lot. I need a yellow Skittle for a yellow backdrop or whatever. There's just so many colors to deal with, and it just is awesome to have that kind of palette out there of all these great colors of cars to drop into a scene like this.
Aside from the 40 or so cars that are physically installed onto stands, which obviously are pre-planned in some way, what is your approach to placing the 400 other cars that arrive, being driven or whatever, the night before or the day of.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky because on a day like today, we landed nearly 500 cars in an hour and a half or 2 hours. So you can't be too picky at times, but there's an idea of how it flows in, where things can go. And when I ever have a chance to group things together, like if you notice over on the other side, on the north side of this, the first thing you see is a green 74 Carrera S and a orange Carrera. I just happened to see those two guys. They didn't know each other, but it was like the perfect pair to put together with that backdrop. And so those moments that I get to execute when I see them are great. But a lot of times it's kind of path of least resistance because we want to get you guys in here, want to get you landed so you can enjoy it. But there's moments where I can't just deny that pair of cars would be awesome.
When you come here and survey this area, do you know where you want to put every car, and then when on the day of you place a car, that color for here, or do you sometimes have inspiration where you see the red one, you go, it would be great, let's just put you here in an unplanned place?
Yeah, it's a mix of things, but when I'm here without any cars, I kind of identify what the photo opportunities would be, and when I do that, then it's kind of like I've got those holes to fill, but a lot of it's just organic to the way the day goes. And a lot of times it's fun for me because sometimes you put a car in a place where the way you would photograph it, and then somebody else just does this mind-blowing photo of it that you didn't even consider. So it's a lot of surprises here.
What do you think it is that, like this, it would be one thing if you did Luft once, the way you do it, and it would be very obvious that people would go, oh, that's the way, and then just start copying it. But here we are, 9 of these things, and no one else has managed to do this to this level with any other type of car. Why is that?
Well, I hope it doesn't happen. No, but
I mean, the common sense is like, well, you need you.
Yeah, but think about it. We all have this. There isn't anybody here. It's where you point it.
Yeah.
And so the same thing for the show. There's car shows everywhere. It's where we're pointing, where we're focusing, how we're storytelling, and each time, even though it's not like really discussed, there's a theme to these shows. We're honoring the G-bodied cars, the cars from 74 to 89. So there's a whole section over there. It's just G-body cars.
Yeah, under the tent or whatever you call it.
And it's the
a cool,
best of
cool
the
room.
G-bodies.
Yeah, it's a great room.
Sure. So there's always those underlying themes. And, for tomorrow's show, we're dealing with the modern era. So we have a great range from the latest, greatest things to some of the things that aren't even available to the public yet, to everything water-cooled. Plus, tomorrow is an all-inclusive day where air-cooled, water-cooled, electric, everything comes together.
Yeah, let's talk about tomorrow, because it's the first time that you're doing this thing with water-cooled. It's sort of an all-new thing for you guys and on the Luft team. So why did you decide to do that after so many years? And what is your mindset about organizing that after today?
Yeah, I think that, Patrick Long is such a visionary, and obviously our, U.S. factory driver has had such a great career at that. And, he's focused on this, and we're integrating ourselves in daily lives with modern product and old product. And I'm a storyteller for, from Porsche's standpoint. You want the bookends. You want where it began, 1948 in a sawmill, to the latest, greatest things. So that evolution. So this was not a little bit out of necessity, because there were so many people that because they didn't have the right car, they couldn't be as involved as it. So tomorrow's a day when everybody can come here. And I think no matter what, the modern vehicles in Porsche that we really enjoy always have links to the past in some way or another. And so to be able to put them on the ground and for people to go through and maybe make those connections, it's an important connection to make.
Well, Patrick told me after last year's show in San Pedro, he goes, if you just go to the parking lot outside of this show, he believed that it was accidentally the largest gathering of GT3s in history. And that's just the parking lot.
Yeah.
And so he said, right after that show, he goes, "That should be a whole other show."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yes, it should be a show. It's a whole other thing." And so I'm so happy that you've done it. In 1 year to turn that around. Do you see it as being a chronological display of Porsche's history?
No,
or are you gonna...
tomorrow is a little bit of a shortened version of today. So it's kind of a curated cars and coffee in a way. And, I think that as time goes, obviously we'll focus that. But we just wanted to give a place for everybody to drop into. We love being in the Bay Area. I used to live up here. It's always been a great Porsche culture. So it's really fun. Just so you know, about 80% of the cars here today have not been to a Luft before. It was all from this area. So that was really fun to just all of a sudden have, you get used to the usual suspects in some areas, and it's been really fresh. The cars I saw roll in this morning, it's awesome. So it's here, but until you put on an event, see it all roll out in front of you, you don't really get it.
Are you excited to now bring the two worlds, the water-cooled and air-cooled, together? Because you've raced both.
Yeah.
I mean, you and Patrick, you both have had a lot of time in different races in both. So is it nice to be able to bring those two together? Finally, did you always feel like you were leaving a part of your racing career out of it?
Yeah, no, it's really good. And, obviously we have a racing theme in all of this because Patrick and I are both fully immersed in that side of the world. And I have really enjoyed always being able to also link the Porsche motorsport history to what we see in terms of the air-cooled road cars. So to be able to do that tomorrow with the water-cooled side of the things, we've got some very cool cars to have on display with amazing Le Mans history and our future too with things that are coming up in the global racing scene for Porsche. So yes, and it's like racing is my passion, seriously. And the side of it is I went into photography, not because I love photography and filmmaking. It was because I wanted to be around racing. So it's deep in there and we love it. And it's such a fun thing to share.
If you had, no, I'm not going to ask you to choose your favorite car of the show. That's probably impossible for you. And Pat, when he was here before, talked about the Siffert car placed alone in that building, which is a special kind of thing. It's you only when you have this much space can you dedicate a whole building to one car.
It is bold.
It's awesome though. If you had to produce a catalog or a coffee table book of this event, what is the photograph that you would put on the cover of that book?
Oh, geez.
A lot of pressure, but I already know you have something in mind.
It's actually a scene. So for me, the cover of the book would be looking past the Mexico Blue RS out there.
With the submarine topper behind it?
No, the one across the way in the alley.
Oh, the other Mexico Blue RS.
The other Mexico Blue RS 4.0.
Oh, the other Mexico Blue RS.
It's the RS 3.0 with the gold graphic. But you see that car, and then at the end of the alley is a light yellow Carrera also. And if you guys can take the moment, go from that blue car, walk up the alley to the yellow car. What you can't see around the corner is a white 993 RS. So this is about discovering things at your Easter egg hunt. This is cool stuff. And, I always love it when people call me on Monday and go, I didn't even know that car was there. Well, the guys that don't call me are the guys that did their homework. So.
If I owned one of those cars, it would be fun to be a Zwart Easter egg. But when you first placed me there, I'd be like, what are you doing? I'm like sidelined in this corner over here.
You're in the porta potty.
I say, just trust me, it'll be okay.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for having us.
No, thank you for being part.
It's fun to get to do this show and talk to our friends and see all these incredible cars. I love working with you. And you're also one of a few people that pays my mortgage because you store your LA car at Westside Collector Car Storage, which I really appreciate. One of my favorite customers. And thanks for doing it. And we'll see you tomorrow for Air Water. And I just can't wait to see the next evolution of what this show is.
No, and seriously, I said it, but I'll say it again. Thank you all for being here. Matt and Zach, they always run a great show. And you guys, I drive 40,000 miles a year, and I think about 20,000 of those miles is listening to these guys. So
thanks, bud.
It's good
much,
stuff. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Mike, you want to come do some radio? I'm going to bring out my pal Mike Musto from Hemmings. If you guys know this guy, he's a content creator. He's made so many videos over the years. Mainly does muscle cars, but also a Porsche enthusiast and a Porsche owner. He's got a 996 4S. Drove us here in his 96 OJ Bronco today, which is very tasteful. And we want to talk about some of our favorite things that we've seen today. What stands out to you, Mike?
Well, I think, it's interesting. Being kind of a traditional hot rod and a muscle car guy, right? I think a lot of people don't realize, like, the first car that ever got me into muscle cars wasn't a big block Mopar, it wasn't a big block Chevy. It was a water-cooled 928. And that's one of those things where, I, as a kid, I had never really experienced that. And I had a dentist that had this candy apple red 928S with an exhaust on it. And I oogled that car since I was a kid. And I said, can you take me for a ride in this thing? And one day he did, and he pulled out of the parking lot sideways with the tires on fire, and it left the biggest impression on me ever. And that was my first real introduction to a V8. And it wasn't an American muscle car. It was this long, sleek, shark-looking thing with a 5-liter 32-valve V8 that ripped the tires apart.
He's like, this is a Corvette from Germany. It'd be very expensive to repair.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I first started getting into automobiles in general and muscle cars and whatnot, I went down a traditional path, right? You get because I couldn't afford anything. So you build a small block Chevy, and then you move up and you get, big block Mopars and stuff like that. But that 928, that Porsche, was the one that always left the biggest impression on me. And so when I could do it, I actually bought one. I bought an 86 928S, and I had it restored, and it was one of the few cars that I've had, and I've had a ton of cars.
I hope there's a 928 section tomorrow.
I hope there is too.
See a 928. Anyone had a 928 here? No.
That's because everybody's terrified of the maintenance.
Oh, you got one? One 928? All right.
So it was one of the few cars in my life that actually exceeded every expectation of a car that I've ever had. And I used it as a commuter from San Francisco down to LA. And you would get on the 5 or you'd get on the 101 and you would sit at 100 whatever.
Yeah.
And the car just didn't care. And when you looked at it close to kind of a modern 911, it was a tiny car. It weighed 3,300 pounds and put out around 300 horsepower and would do 155, 160 miles an hour. And so that always kind of stuck with me. The other part of that car that stuck with me were the maintenance bills, right? So if anybody is going down the 928 road, I'm going to tell you straight, just buy the best one you can and you will enjoy the hell out of it.
Agreed.
But I think the other part about it is where Porsche and kind of hot rodding come together it's the enthusiasts, right? If you look at everybody that's in this room, everybody that's in this building, everybody that's outside, they've taken these cars and they've modified them in ways that is an extension of their own personalities. Every single car has a little bit of the owner inside of them, right? Inside of the vehicle. And it's great because this is the world's biggest Hot Wheels box. You walk outside, that's the world's biggest outdoor Hot Wheels box. This is a big Skittles collection. So there's something that the eye is immediately drawn to on all of these things. And it's where I think all of us as enthusiasts get our inspiration from. You could take a little bit from this and a little bit from that. It's the same as hot rodding, it's just
with better cars, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And speaking of which, I want to take the opportunity to bring my man Joey Seeley on the stage. And Joey owns a company called eMotion Engineering. And if you've never heard of this guy, Joey is the king of setup and fine tuning. If you are in Southern California, or even people send him his cars, he's not totally a one-man shop, but he's mostly a one-man shop. And he does overlanding Cayennes. He does Pikes Peak race cars. He's showing his personal G-body car today, which if you didn't know it, you might walk by it and have abs just think it was a red car. But if you look close, you will see some incredible detail work. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, really good.
And what do you think of what's happening today?
This is amazing.
Right?
What a beautiful venue. He had no idea there was a South End. It was big and beautiful up on the other side, and then you come to this side, and it's
we got to remind them to tell people this is here. We're all the way at the end down here.
Yeah, but it's about the people. You see everybody in the industry or people you don't even know, but the fans, the passionate car lovers. It's incredible.
you spend a lot of your time working on customer cars, as one would expect, because you're very, very busy. But your own personal car, which is affectionately called Nasty, is about, I don't know, it's over on the north side, up against the wall. It's red with gold BBS wheels.
By the big crane.
And I really think everyone should go find this car and look at it up close. And if you do look at it up close, it's been an evolving project for at least 10 years.
Yeah, 10 or 12 years.
Yeah. What will people see in the details of this car?
My personality, like you guys are just talking about. The details, it's never ending. You'd have to take the car apart really to understand it fully. But every body panel has been changed, every mechanical part's been changed and updated. So it's a 2,300 pound, 360 horsepower car, but a riot to drive.
I drove the car 10 years ago, and at the time it was insanely fast, and you've only made it incrementally faster and crazier.
Back then it weighed, tell people what it weighed then, because then we saw you at SEMA and you had these huge eyes and you're like, I took hundreds of pounds out of it.
Yeah, I think it was 2,200 pounds then. So it's put on a little weight.
It's gotten back, okay.
Yeah.
It also had no headliner, and I burned my head after driving it. I was like, Joey, a headliner is 1 pound. Put the fucking headliner in. I'm dying in here.
It has a headliner now,
right, good man.
an Alcantara one, just for you. But it's a little more civilized, but only a little bit. It's a lot easier to drive, with Motec injection and individual throttles. It's a little rocket, but still something that you would drive for 6 hours. I don't recommend it very much.
Did you drive it up here?
No.
Oh,
it was trailer.
I drove my car up here.
Hey, last time I did Rensport, I drove it all the way up to Rensport. Had a blast.
You have to suffer for these cars, otherwise it's not worth it, right?
Yeah.
We've got a new wing on it, because I remember when we filmed it 10 years ago, you had shaved down the whale tail, which I thought was such a beautiful detail. But now it has a different whale tail, which...
So it's the same thing.
Same shape?
But took a mold of it and made it in one-piece carbon.
One-piece carbon
so
fiber.
now it's probably 30 or 40 pounds lighter.
That's the detail.
Crazy.
So if you guys see this car from far away, it looks like a Carrera with a whale tail. But if you look up close, that part of the whale tail that would normally be rubber, like on the blue car over here, that is bare carbon fiber. And it looks amazing. It's the coolest.
Thank you.
I got a very up-close photo of it. It's awesome.
It's a challenge with these old cars to not get too new school.
Yeah.
And, I definitely toe the line, and I've stepped over quite a few times. But, it's an extension of my personality where I work with modern cars and some air-cooled stuff as well. So,
speaking of which, you sent me pictures of a car you're going to be showing tomorrow. It is extremely cool and very me. So tell us what you're bringing to Air Water tomorrow.
So about 2 years ago, I started two 991 Safari cars. With other projects, I've taken the back seat, but here we brought a 991 Turbo S Safari car with about 800 horsepower and 29-inch tires with 9 inches of suspension travel and Kevlar skid plates, aluminum skid plates, all the good stuff.
Since you started that, Porsche has now built their own Safari car called the Dakar. I got to drive it. It's really, really amazing. But I wonder, you obviously, given a highly specialized client who I can't guess but has an unlimited budget, have probably gone a little further. So what is it? Have you driven it off-road yet?
No, it's not. It's technically not finished.
Oh, all
but
right.
it looks the part. It looks finished. All the important parts visually are there. But no, we've got a few more months of tuning and tweaking to make it roadworthy.
Why do you think that the Safari trend, which began with the air-cooled stuff and Lee Keen and those kind of cars, obviously are based on historical Porsche race cars, why has that made its way into the new cars so successfully?
I honestly think it's because people are running out of things to do. The GT cars, there's so many variants of GT that you can do. So to do it off-road, adds a whole nother level of creativity, but also the usability. Like to drive a sports car and, creep up driveways and over speed bumps, it gets to be a little bit tiresome, but when you can accelerate towards them.
Yeah, this was for usability for driveways, right? 9 inches of clearance.
The 800 horsepower is good for that. Yeah.
What about the turbo lent itself well to this Safari type project, and what about it did you have to change for your purpose?
Oh, geez.
You can give us a short detail. 'Cause I know there's a
It was
lot.
more just the opportunity. The customer wanted to do it, so it wasn't a choice. I mean, I would likely do more in just a base Carrera or GTS or really whatever anyone wants. We're also building one out of a GT3. Which is
But is that for competition or is that just for a toy?
just for a toy.
Wow. So you started by building your Cayenne, your overlanding. You didn't start by, but I'm saying in terms of off-roading, you built yourself a Cayenne, and that then became a thing that you did for others. Is that going to be the same?
Really,
with
it
this?
started with the Luft Auto 001 and 002.
Right.
So saw what a trend that was, and decided, okay, what's the next one? And I knew the Carreras were affordable, and they were very, very good off-road as it is. So just to outfit them for overlanding, we started doing that, and that was a lot of fun. And then, of course, just it's been a whirlwind for everyone, building safaris out of everything. Whether it be a Cayman that I saw on the way in here or
I mean, look,
GT3.
a car that has good dynamics on the road will retain those good dynamics if you add off-road capability.
If you engineer it right,
Yeah.
have the right geometry and suspension travel and wheel clearance is big for me. Like that's what's fun about this turbo that you guys will see tomorrow is the 29-inch wheels do clear.
Yeah.
You can drive it around, and actually we have different headlights in design in production right now so that you have full up travel and don't poke a headlight out.
Oh, so it's the back of the headlight needs to be redesigned.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's why Joey. If someone else builds this thing, you hit a bump and the headlights fly out forward. That's why you spend all your money going to Joey, because he doesn't fuck that part up.
We may not. They may not be ready to race, but it's intended to race, but they would be ready. Everything for me, my background's racing, so I want it to be functional, as you guys know.
Yeah, I mean, you also built a car with Reese Millen or for him to drive at Pikes Peak that was 1,400 horsepower.
1,200.
It would have been incredibly competitive, except everyone got fogged out, which was terrible.
That was
but that car,
heartbreaking.
when you showed us the details at a reveal for it, I mean, you have an amazing ability to engineer things for a road and then also this off-road side, which just speaks to your
It's
breadth
like
of
what
ability.
Emory does with his old cars. You seem to find ways to do that with the modern cars, where you look at the car and you go, something's different here, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Obviously the 29-inch tires, but in your modern builds, you build stuff that looks like it could have or should have come from the factory, and you can't really tell what's been changed right away.
Well, thank you. I mean, to put my name with Rod's in a sentence or paragraph is an honor. But that's always the goal, is something that Porsche, would be willing to release on the showroom floor. Stay true to the original lines and use a lot of factory parts if possible. But always to keep it pleasing. There's a lot going on, but it doesn't have to poke you in the eye. Of like, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
You have to walk around it and you go, oh my God, look at these details. Look at that. Like we have the bumpers hidden on that car pretty well behind the original splitter. So. Hopefully everyone will like it as much as I think they will.
Oh, I bet it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see it.
It'll be a hoot to drive.
I can't
Oh,
wait
I
to
bet.
see it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Thanks for joining us here, Joey. Joey
Thank
Seeley
you,
of
guys.
Emotion
Thank
Engineering,
you.
folks. He is a G. Take his business card, please. I want to finish. Yeah, man, good to see you. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll be the one in the pink car. We wanted to finish today's little show with a little Porsche trivia, a little fun game for you guys to play, and we've come up with five, six good questions. Question number one, and you can just raise your hand if you want to take a guess. How many variants of the 911 are on sale right now? Anyone want to know? Anyone want to take a guess? How many? 28. We have a 28. 17, 14, 22. The answer is 26. You were close.
You were close.
You were
Price
close.
is Right rules, you win, but you were both close.
It's 26. I think that is the most variations of any car on sale right now, and it is ridiculous how many different ones you can get. Does anyone know why Porsche celebrates its anniversary on June 6th, 1948? Why that day? Anybody know?
June 8.
Yes, sir. That was good. He actually got that exactly right. It is when the first 356 was registered for road use. That is a very good guess. Maybe that question was way too easy.
Well, this might be easy too. What have they sold more of, water-cooled 911s or air-cooled 911s?
This one we'll just do show of hands. Who thinks they've sold more water-cooled 911s than air-cooled 911s?
I'd say
Okay.
a third of the audience maybe thinks that.
All right.
Okay.
Who thinks they've sold more air-cooled 911s than water-cooled 911s? Actually, it seems like most people are thinking water-cooled.
Yeah. And that is correct. They sold more water cooled. Starting in 2017, they eclipsed it by a couple 100,000.
27
And
by
so
a couple 100,000?
By like 200,000. In the last 5 years, they've really ran away with it.
Okay. And okay. How many different models has Roof produced? So Roof, if you don't know, and I'm sure most of you do because you're enthusiasts, for the longest time, literally up until a year and a half ago, would get bodies in white from Porsche and turn them into cars that were so different they got their own VIN numbers. There are a few different Roofs around here today. The best one that I've seen is the gray one out next to the submarine. That's a CTR2. It's not a CTR2? Oh, it's a Turbo R. You're right. Yeah, sorry about that. It belongs to Bruce Canepa, and rumor is he turned down $2.3 million for it. And I say it's a rumor because that's what he told me, and you never know if he's telling the truth or not. He's probably just hyping it. But who knows how many different models Roof has made? 6? Okay. 14? Any other guesses? 9? 5? Anyone else? 18? A dozen?
35. 35.
Yeah. A lot more prolific than we thought. That one actually surprised me too. 35 different variants. And Porsche stopped supplying them with bodies in white, which is why they're doing their new car, the CTR Anniversary, which looks kind of like a 911, but shares absolutely no parts with the actual 911. And if you park one next to a 911, it actually looks way different. Here's an interesting one. In 1979, famously, the Whittington brothers won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in a Porsche 935 from the GT class.
They won the whole thing outright.
They won overall from the GT class, okay? The other thing the Whittington brothers were famous for was that they funded that exclusively using drug money. They were massive weed and cocaine smugglers. Now, when they got to Le Mans, they were sharing a car.
They were funding a car that was ran by a team, a German-based team, and that's where their 935. So, they had hired a team to manage that car for them.
Right. And the German drivers were supposed to drive first, and the Whittington drivers were supposed to drive second. They didn't like that very much. So they took the Germans aside, and they said, how much for us to go first?
They said, what would it take for us to run first? And they said, well, if it was your car, then you could run first. And they said, well, how much does it cost to make it our car? So the Germans talked amongst each other.
How much did the Whittington brothers pay in cash in 1979 to buy out the car from the Germans immediately before the race? Well, I guess that question was easy as shit too. $200,000 in 1979. Any inflation calculators out there? How much is that in today's money? It's $1.1 million. So
they had in a trailer.
They showed up with $1 million in cash
just
equivalent, and they went, we go first. Thanks very much.
And then they won the damn thing.
Fortunately, they won. Bruce Meyer now owns that car. It's at his garage. It's pretty G, actually. Hey, I just saw JF. Where's JF? He was just here.
Paging JF Musial.
JF, come here. Let's get JF Musial on the mic real quick. If you guys don't know who this guy is, he was one of the first producers I ever worked with in 2007, and he was the producer of all of the original Drive Network content. He's now owns a company called Tangent Vector, which produces almost all of Porsche's video media.
Just a little.
He's very modest,
yeah.
But heavily involved with the media for this event.
Yeah.
And I want to close out the show with you. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. I can't stay long, but
that's okay. We can't either. So
it's amazing. It's just amazing coming here. You see how many people here. Like old days, New York, car shows, parking lots. Yeah. Things have changed.
Yeah. This is wild stuff. But I feel like once you come to this, you can't go back to regular car shows. It's kind of like driving a 911.
Yeah,
you start driving Porsches and you go, "Wow, all those other cars are fucking."
I also think this is like the new age of like auto shows. Like auto shows in general have kind of like this is the new age.
It's the Instagram age.
You gotta specialize the event. Otherwise, it's just cars parked in a parking lot.
So it's like a curated gallery in unique spaces. I love it. It's cool.
Yeah. So give
Called
me
a pop-up.
your top 2 or 3 cars of the show. What do you like?
The reimagined Singer, I think is the DOS is always a
The
good thing to
DLS
see.
is a treat. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Rothman's 962. Love seeing that car.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
There's just so much. There's like, I don't know, just you're like overwhelmed. It's oversaturation. It's a little bit too much.
If you guys haven't poked around the DLS Singer, it's worth spending 10 minutes to look at the details. Go bug Seamus, the Irish guy in the newsy cap. It's his job to sell those cars, so act really rich, and he'll show you whatever you want. He's a very nice
Act like
guy.
you don't care.
Tell him you
Yeah.
parked
You don't
your
care,
yacht
yeah.
next to the battleship, and then he'll get you in there.
Yeah. My favorites so far.
I love these guys have like the best seats in the house.
Yeah, they got here early.
Yeah.
We got early. Those were supposed to be our chairs, and then we made them audience chairs. We really were taken, actually, might be sacrilege, but there's a guy who hand-built a 914 down at the north end, and it's actually got an LS engine in it, which I feel like should make it a tomorrow car. Like, I'm not saying it shouldn't be here, but like, all right.
That's cool.
But what's the neat thing about it is he's sketching ideas for parts that he's going to build for the car on the car. So like the hood and the trunk just have like sketches for new parts designs.
There's
on
like
it.
an outline where he was gonna do louvers and decided not to, but the outside looks kind of, bare metal,
It's
rough.
rough. He hasn't
There's
painted it
Sharpie
yet.
on it,
It's
but then when you
rough,
look
yeah.
inside, the precision that he's assembled the interior with the exposed shift linkage and stuff is amazing.
That's very cool.
So it's
Yeah.
just that
Very
is
cool.
very, very cool.
Is the half 11 here? Have we seen that?
No, I've seen it.
No, it's
I've
not.
seen
Okay.
it before.
That's
If you guys
amazing.
don't know
Yeah.
about Oil Stain Lab and the half 11, they went back. They imagined a prototype Porsche race car that never existed, and it's like this high off the ground, and it has a V8 in it and a bundle of snakes
It's like
headers.
it's half IndyCar in the rear,
Yeah,
front 964.
yeah, it's
100%
really great.
It's actually
dangerous.
more like a third 911 at
It
this
is
point,
a
but yeah.
straight up death trap. I mean, I was with
Cool.
Ben Collins, the Stig, when we saw it in the parking lot, and he goes, "Mate, you couldn't pay me enough." and he was right. There's a lot of ways to die in that car. None of them are pleasant.
What is your favorite Porsche engined vehicle you've seen here? Not LS.
My favorite Porsche engined vehicle?
Oh, you said your favorite car was the LS
other
swap,
than that?
914.
Oh, I mean, well, we heard, where's the 910? We heard the 910 roll in here last night, and it was pretty epic. I'm very numb to certain stuff. I see stuff, I like it, I kind of move on, but every time I see one of Rod's builds, Rod's builds are incredible.
What was amazing last night, did you see they were actually still working on a car?
Yeah.
Last night over there. They put it on stage, they're like, it's not ready, we're going to keep shaving stuff down.
hammering
It's
on
like,
this stuff right now.
the work never ends. It's kind of cool.
There's just too many things to look at. I will say, and I'm sorry if this is anybody here, there's something we like to say about in cars, which is that TEs look good on everything. Do you guys know that phrase? The Volk TE37 wheel. I saw them on a 993, and I think we found the exception to that rule. It didn't work for me. But sorry if that's your car, anybody that listens to this. But
Saw like one guy shake his hand.
Just my opinion.
Thought it was your car for a
Is it
second.
your car? Oh no! Okay, thank God. No one listens to the show anyway. But there's just the amount of variety that you see from one model of car or two models of cars. It's just beyond.
Have you got into like the fact of like just how curated this is?
Yes.
Like I love the fact that like you can go if this show was here every single year, it wouldn't be as cool. Right? The fact that Jeff and Patrick kind of curate these locations, they spend so much time kind of figuring out how to position cars, how to make it great for everyone to kind of view it. It's like an art gallery. It really is. And just that curation, that's what makes it special.
Well, and how many people here had been to Mare Island before today?
Not that many?
Like 9
30%?
out of 40
Yeah.
people. All right, yeah. So the event brings people to a curated place. So the space is impressive on its own, and then the curation and the placement of the cars makes it even more impressive.
Right.
Somebody
Yeah.
in the comments of this episode is going to make a curated counter for every time we said it's a stupid word.
Please.
You guys over that word yet? Because I am. I'm self-conscious about it at this point. We've said it too many times. And the other thing is, not these badges, but our friend Musto has a one. The badge they gave him is literally metal. the confidence that you have in the people attending your show to give them a dangly thing that is made of metal and trust that they're not going to jack up the cars.
That's a good point.
That's how you know the class of people that come to this show. That we could leave our iPhones and stuff here all night and all day, and they'll be there when you get back. All you got to do is leave it next to a $10 million car, and you know it's not walking off. You're good. You're good.
Yeah,
to
where
go.
else can you get to this close to cars? Even like at Goodwood and those events, like they keep distance. This is like you're on them.
It's an incredible thing. I mean, the number of people, the number of cars, you know, it's such a treat to see this kind of stuff and how the show evolved. And like, I'm super stoked for tomorrow, honestly. I think tomorrow is going to be a totally different vibe, totally different thing. And yeah, I appreciate you guys all standing around. Thank you guys for watching our little show here.
Thank you.
And listening. And for those of you at home, I hope the audio quality was good on this one. If you're listening to this later, we're in a 80,000 square foot, 100-year-old building, so you have to believe me that we're doing our best. And for those of you here, I hope you're coming back tomorrow to air water. My pink car will be somewhere good, because if not, I'll beat the shit out of Jeff and Pat.
Your car or no?
My car.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, my car will be here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sitting in Mike's house right now.
Do people know you're colorblind and you don't know it's pink?
It's pinkish.
But you know it's not pink. Like,
It's frozen berry metallic. It's pretty pink.
But you can't experience it the same way.
I experience
say
colors
that, man.
the way
What's wrong
I
with you?
experience colors. The way I experience colors is like how everybody else experiences them, but less good. That's it. Any colorblind people here? One? Yeah, so you don't know what reality is either. You were like, well, I don't understand. How do you... It's like the same way you do. The only way I explain... How do you explain your colorblindness to people? I see color, it's just more muted. The way I say it is, camouflage works on me. If I'm in the woods and you're wearing camo, I ain't seeing your ass. That's how it works.
It's so
right?
easy to break into his house.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
All right, guys, enjoy the rest of Luft. Thank you very much. Stay hydrated, wear sunscreen. Peace.